Hey there, Survivor fans! This is Kevin from the Super Fun Time Show. And last night, it was the premiere. It was episode 1 of Survivor 44, which is kind of a cool, funky, medieval theme. I don't really know why it's a medieval theme. It's like a medieval Europe theme, even though they're back in Fiji again. The immunity idol is a sword, and the backup idol is the shield. Still, not the coolest tribal immunity idol that ever existed. That honor, my friend, still goes to Survivor Pearl Islands, which is like a spear with a skull on it. It's like a halberd or something like that. Anyway, back to the episode. This is a recap of what happens in the episode itself. We're going to talk about some of the major things I liked and some of the things I didn't like as much, and I'll kind of give my general commentary on people and things. So this should be really interesting and really exciting because it was an episode and there were a lot of really great personalities that were involved in it. Although I'll let you know right off the bat, one of the things I did not like in the episode, literally 3 seconds into the episode, I disliked the editing choice by Jeff Probst and the executive producers. The fact that right away, they did a confessional with Carolyn, whom I love. I love Carolyn so much, I'll talk more about her later. They cut in the cameraman talking to Carolyn. Why do we need to know that? Why are you showing us that it is a reality show with cameramen who are talking to these people? We know that. It's been going on for a long time. Did you feel as though people were confused by the fact that they were being filmed by cameramen and that was real? Like, what was the purpose of doing that? It drives me nuts. Jeff Probst has this just massive erection for letting the fans know that, one, they love to do it live. They love to do it live. It's like, oh my God, we do confessionals live. We medically evacuate people live. We do finales and drink live. And instead of having a more polished product that's supposed to be kind of more documentary style, which was like the whole point of the show. So I already didn't like the editing choice, but what I did love were the castaways in general. I thought the cast seemed like they were really great, some really good personalities. There were a lot of confessionals. I think it was at least 2 confessionals per person throughout the entire episode, which is basically unheard of. I don't know if that's ever been done. Because you have 18 people, 3 different tribes, and a lot of big personalities. There's some people that I thought would dominate right away. I thought Jam Jam was going to get a lot of these confessionals. I thought that Carolyn was going to get a ton, and they did. But I didn't think it would be so over the top. I like the individual players from what I know of them at this point. But we spent almost no time talking with the castaways on the beach. Like, you know, when you hit the beach, usually that's when like, all right, we got to build a shelter and we got to build a fire. The Sweat and Savvy competition where they get to earn their supplies, I don't need that. I don't need them to earn their supplies. It's not a big deal. It's not as tough as the old Survivor. You don't need to convince me that it is. It's not anymore. Like in Survivor Africa, they literally had to create barriers around their camp and stay on guard duty overnight so that they weren't attacked by lions. You are never going to get to that level. It's okay. We don't need to do this Sweat and Savvy thing anymore. It's fine. And because of that, it ends up separating the tribe mates who were doing the challenge and then from the rest of the tribe who was trying to do other stuff. And apparently they were occupied because they had a bird cage they had to go pay attention to and find a key to. So they've almost had no time to really sit and talk. I mean, I guess the 2 people doing the challenge could bond and the other 4 can go bond over the bird cage. I guess that's the case. True. But they didn't emphasize any of that in the editing. Not really, at least. They didn't really go like, okay, so those 2 they're alone over there, we're definitely going to just zero in on them, right? Like, none of that happened. It was all about the advantages. And that is one of my major gripes. Probst is so rock hard for adding these advantages. And it's too much. The game has gone so far away from what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about 16 Americans who are stranded on an island, who are forced to work together to grow, to make a new society. They will be work together and vote out each other, or they'll be voted out of the tribe. I forget the exact diatribe, but it's gone so far away from that. Now this game is really all about getting advantages before anyone else, using them correctly, and dodging advantages. That is the game at this point. How well you can relate to everyone else in your tribe, if you're strong or weak, it almost feels irrelevant. It feels like that's like 25% of the vote. The other 75 is literally anyone not holding an advantage, or is it not going to get me out directly this vote? And that's it. You have the shot in the dark, you have the beware advantage, you have now this like basically knowledge is power, but you inherit everything. It's called the inheritance advantage, which means that when you played at that tribal, every advantage or idol that was played during that tribal you get. What the shit is that? That is crazy. That is a terrible advantage. It's way too overpowered. And then another one, which Lauren got, which is the bank your vote advantage. And I understand the value in the bank your vote advantage. It's basically an extra vote, but with a risk. Like the fact that it's not enough that probes force these 3 players to go to an island and they have to play a game whether or not they want to risk their vote. Probes is like, all right, you don't have a choice anymore. You're risking your vote. So you're going to figure out if you're going to get one of these advantages no matter what. And it's driving me nuts that like the game has strayed so far away from what it was supposed to be. And as an old school fan, it drives me nuts. I don't hate the new game. I just don't like it like I used to. I think that the individual cast members have been highlighted more than some other seasons pre-40. But the problem is, the way they even highlight the characters, I think is problematic because they start showing like baby photos and stuff like that up on the screen and some like sob story. And that's maddening because like I never really learn like who the character is on the island as opposed to at home. And that's what happens a lot with players. And I pray they get better at that because they've slowly gotten better. I'm actually a fan of season 43 and how that played out. So I hope it gets a little bit better, but I'm very fearful based off of this, except for Carolyn. Carolyn, I absolutely love from this season. She has skyrocketed up to #1 in the rankings of gremlins in Survivor history. Before, I probably had like Wendy from Edge of Extinction up there, Nora from Island of the Idols. She was like my #1. I think Carolyn is like a more energetic version of Nora, and I absolutely love that. So I'm probably going to be a Carolyn fan for a really long time. Jam Jam is more entertaining than I originally expected from the previews. I was not excited for Jam Jam like the rest of the internet was, but seems pretty cool. So I'm feeling him a bit. Carson's pretty much exactly what you'd expect from the internet. NASA scientist guy. He looks like freaking Tom Holland from Spider-Man. Helen, smart, seems under the radar. She said she wants to play like Erica from season 41. It sounds like that's probably going to end up being the case. Poor Bruce. Damn Bruce. First challenge. Bruce gets medevaced from the game. He just bashes his head right into an obstacle, busting it wide open, and it looks like he gave himself a concussion. And then, unfortunately, only like a day later, a couple hours later, he ends up being pulled from the game and taken out. The positive is, Jeff Probst already said on his Fire Island podcast, whatever it's called, that Bruce has been invited with an open invitation to return to the game in the future, which is great because most medevac players don't get that privilege. And Sarah, to kind of round out my impressions of Tika, Sarah seems like she's really bright and she will do really well in the game. My preseason vote for her was that she was going to be the first merge boot, which I think may be the case. I mean, she's got a lot of power in the game right now at this point. Now to the Ratu tribe, first impressions of them. I think Matty G, I think he seems great. Obviously, he was a bit silly by trying to climb up a giant rock and hurting himself to the point where it may get him removed from the game strategically. So that was a bit silly, but you know, he lives for adventure. He seems like a cool guy, someone who's really going to love being out there. We got Brandon, who's a former member of the Seattle Seahawks, played in the NFL. He seems ready to play. He's a little bit different than I kind of expected him to be in a good way, which is great. He did kind of screw up with the Maddie stuff and finding the idol at the Ratu camp. I don't know how much further it's going to be. I mean, good on Brandon for using the idol properly, but that tribal council was a complete sham anyway. So Kane didn't show a lot in the episode, but I love Kane. Like already to start with, I'm pretty sure I'm going to love this guy. I admit a lot of it's based on faith at the moment, but he seems to have a good head on his shoulders and he'll probably be good moving forward in the game. He did get a little hung out to dry though, unfortunately with the last tribal council, but I have a lot of faith that he's going to recover because that tribal council was just crazy. Jamie was a character that I think is really sweet. She seems to have a lot of energy, really excited to be in the game. This is where I get annoyed by the storytelling at least. There was so much crammed into a 2-hour episode. When Jamie was trying to strategize for tribal council, she said, I think I'm going to play my shot in the dark. Probably everyone, including myself, was sitting there and saying, why the hell would you play your shot in the dark? Up to this point, no one has made an inkling that it's going to be you that is going home. So that doesn't make any sense. And then we get to tribal council and she does. And I was just like, why would you do that? To the point where someone else had to play their shot in the dark, which is Matt, and it didn't work out. And then Brandon had to play his idol, where only 3 people ended up having a vote because Lauren had another advantage where she could bank her vote and decided to bank it. So she didn't vote, Matt didn't vote, and Jamie didn't vote. 1 vote on the first tribal council. Like, this is the kind of stuff that has me so bothered by new Survivor sometimes. How can there only be half the tribe voting in the first tribal council? That is just stupid. It is so stupid. You know who's not stupid though? Lauren. Lauren is wonderful. Like everyone knew at this point in the game, because it's so repetitive, is that one person from each tribe to another island at the very beginning of the game. They know they're going on a journey where they could possibly get an advantage. Lauren, she rigged the bag. They used a bag and they put rocks in it to draw as who gets to go. And everyone wanted to go. So Lauren knew which one was going to be the right one, and she chose and she got it right. And ultimately, she got a really awesome advantage out of it, which is the bank your vote advantage. So now she can take a vote and she can hold off from voting in the tribal council, keep the parchment for another vote, and use it to add to her power, essentially. Lauren seems like a really smart cookie, and it seems like she's going to do pretty well in the game if she keeps this up. I mean, she kind of got caught in a lie, but it's all a matter of how much the rest of the tribe cares. Again, the Ratu tribe, who I have adopted in preseason as my tribe, they're chaotic and they don't seem to be making a whole lot of sense. I can only hope that Lauren makes it through. If season 43 is any indicator, the silhouette of Gabler is hiding in the season 43 logo. Lauren clearly is hiding in the silhouette of the season 44 logo. So if you go off of that, it sounds like Lauren may end up being the winner of this season, but we have to see. She does have a cool advantage, but you know, I don't know if it'll work out. And finally, the Soka tribe. We got Heidi. Heidi didn't have much of a presence in the episode, so I can't really comment too much on her, but she seemed like she'd be pretty cool. She's ready to play. She's going to be rough and tumble. Should be good. And you have Danny, who didn't really talk at all either. He's the firefighter, strong-looking guy. I'm sure he's a cool guy, but we didn't really get to see too much about him. Same thing with Josh. All we know is that he's had some struggles in his life that has really gotten him here. He wasn't supposed to be alive, but he's here, and I assume he'll play well. I have him as a pre-merge boot, so I don't know how long he's going to last, but we didn't learn much about him either. However, the three remaining people to talk about are absolute bangers. First one being Claire. My God, what a stud you are, girl. This girl, she ended up causing so much chaos in this episode. First of all, her enthusiasm on the Sandra bench for sit-outs during the immunity challenge was amazing. Her jumping up and down, yelling about teamwork while her tribe was kicking butt. It was beautiful. Loved watching it. And while she's sitting there, since this happened after the advantages were gotten, she talks to Matt and says, hey, did your people lose their vote? Because our people lost the vote. Matty B even brought the paper back that says, I lost my vote. And he's like, oh, Matt G's like, no, I didn't do that. So Claire ended up causing a bunch of mistrust between Ratu just by doing that simple comment. And then she had a hilarious thing at the end after she did all that. She goes, hey, I like you. Hilarious. So really, Claire caused a lot of chaos, and you could argue that she was responsible for getting rid of a lot of advantages very quickly, including 2 shots in the dark. So you got to watch out for her. She very clearly is going to make the merge at this rate. And then finally, the last two, Maddie B and Franny. I left these two last because we were told in the previews that, you know, there's going to be a romance somewhere in Survivor 44. And it seems very clearly that these two goobers are the ones that are going to be hooking up eventually. Matt B apparently just got out of a serious relationship not too long ago, and he is ready to hit the rebound, baby. And Franny is what he's ready to rebound with. I mean, these two are adorable. They have really good energy. I thought in the preseason I was probably going to like both. Right now it's shaping up to a point where I think they could do well. Although Matt B lost his vote for the next 2 tribal councils, that is an issue. So if Franny's smart, she may drop Matt B because he's probably not going to be very helpful in these small numbers anytime soon. Now, despite me saying that, one thing I was missing was people getting on the beach, making alliances and saying like, oh, who are you with? And should we get out then? There's really only one alliance that was really kind of made stable, which was the one with Carson, Helen Lee, and also Sarah. That's an alliance that they put together. It seems like it'd be pretty decent. They have the majority if that's the case. It'd be Carolyn and Jam Jam on their own against those 3, which I don't believe that would be the case. I can't imagine that alliance sticking together. But that's the only one that really got put together. After that, Ratu was kind of all over the place. And obviously, we didn't really get to see Ahsoka, but we know Matt B and Franny are together. It would probably be a lot different if poor Bruce was still around. But, you know, obviously, he was medevac from the game. Everyone in America got to know their new favorite star, which is Dr. Will. He was out on the screen multiple times. He was out there, obviously, so that he could help out Bruce, who got probably a serious concussion. He also had to help out Matty G, who fell from a rock, like kind of a dope. I love you, buddy, but kind of a dope. And then finally he had to help out Brandon too, who passed out. It's basically these castaways. I don't know what happened, but I think they tied Survivor Co-Wrong for the most amount of people that had to be checked out by a doctor in one episode. It's pretty absurd. So what I think is really funny is before the game started, I made my list, who's going to win, who's going to be the first one out, who's making the final 3. And I'll recap it for you right now because I didn't put out that video after all. My first boot I said was going to be Carson. Obviously, I was wrong. He's actually set up to do pretty well, it looks like right now. I'm still fearful that people will be afraid of the Cochran type and get rid of him. I don't know. That hasn't been a thing in a while, so maybe not. I have Sarah Wade going out first at the merge, and I had a final 3 of Carolyn, Helen, and Bruce, which obviously is not going to be the case. I'm looking for a new winner at this point. But I don't think that should count against me. That was an injury. I mean, he didn't get kicked out of the game. He got back because of a concussion. I think I should get a do-over. But I'll say overall for the episode, even though I didn't like all the advantages, I think there are way too many advantages in the game. Please, for the love of God, Jeff Probst, will you stop? Will you dial it back? Will you please not do that? Not even hiding the immunity titles anymore. They're just putting them in a bird cage so everyone can see them, and then you can find the key and open it up in front of everybody. But I love the Castaways. I've had a lot of good times so far watching the episode and actually interacting with some of them on Twitter. And it's been really fun. Claire is pretty great. I'm probably going to be a huge fan of hers the rest of the season. I'm already a huge Carolyn fan because I think she's really funny. I really want to support Lauren in a pretty big way. Like, she seems like a total badass, and I'm really excited by her game. And Sarah is such a sneaky one. Like, I know I chose her as a merge boot, but I could easily see her winning this game, no doubt. So I'll say this, my wish list moving forward, I want to see more time focused on beach time. I want to see them talk about strategy and who to go after. I want to see 3 tribes go down to 2 tribes. That it would be really nice if we were to see that in 2 episodes, because I think tribal swaps are really important. And I think having 3 tribes of 6 is becoming a big detriment to the game. For example, if you're going to have this many advantages, having a tribe of 10, it makes it significantly less bad than a tribe of 6. So let's say 3 people did play Shot in the Dark or Idols this last go around, and it was a tribe of 10. It would have been a lot different. We still had a ton of votes. And then poor Maddie, who really was, I thought, playing a solid game until that happened, gets voted out of the game. And that's unfortunate. But you know what? It's Survivor. Hopefully we can have a super fun time while watching the show. I know I'm going to try my best to. And I'll be wearing my chaotic Ratu orange buff along the way. But that's going to do it for this video. What did you think were some of the good things that happened in this episode? Was there anything bad that happened in the episode other than Bruce basically knocking himself out that you think is worthy to talk about? Let me know down below in the comment section, and I would love to talk to you about it. Otherwise, hope you have an amazing day, everyone. You take care. I've spoken.